In Mexico, President Claudia Sheinbaum denied Trump's statements that she had agreed to close the borders to stop migration. The Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel assured on Wednesday that the country is ready to face any administration that occupies the White House. Thousands of Lebanese have returned home since Beirut and Tel Aviv agreed to a 60-day ceasefire, while in Gaza, genocidal troops continue to bomb camps full of women and children. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Stay with us. The United States President-elect Donald Trump took to his Truth Social page to share that Mexico's leader Claudia Sheinbaum had agreed to stop migration during a conversation between the pair, effectively closing the border between their countries. On his post, Trump asserted, "Just had a wonderful conversation with the new president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo. She has agreed to stop migration through Mexico and into the United States, effectively closing our southern border. We also talked about what can be done to stop the massive drug inflow into the United States and also U.S. consumption of these drugs. It was a very productive conversation." For her part, Mexico's president denied Trump's words in a message on the X network. Sheinbaum said that she explained to the U.S. president-elect the comprehensive strategy that Mexico has followed to address the migration phenomenon and reiterated that her country's position is not to close borders, but to build bridges between governments and between peoples. The Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel assured on Wednesday that the country is ready to face any administration that occupies the White House. From the municipality of Las Lajas in the province of Cienfuegos, the head of state assured a group of farmers and neighbors of that area that neither Republicans nor Democrats have represented a change for the island, in addition to reiterating that they are ready for the administration that will begin in January, recognizing the wariness about also the extraordinary effort of the Cuban people in the face of sanctions. He also insisted that Havana remains open to any dialogue with Washington, but with equality and respect.
For us, the results of these elections are not new results. It was a foreseen scenario. It was a likely scenario, and we have been preparing ourselves for this scenario. And the relationship that exists with the government of the United States, is a totally asymmetric relationship, because they have imposed a blockade on us for more than 60 years. But it is a blockade that worsened in 2019, and that has been maintained with the current administration. That is to say, it is not a problem of administration. Two administrations of different parties have maintained the same position of hostility towards Cuba, and we have been in that position for all the years of the revolution. That is to say that the country is prepared. The country does not accept any type of interference. Our country does not renounce our model of social construction that we have to perfect, and the country, in the midst of the most difficult circumstances, will continue to work.
The Cuban president keeps the door open to dialogue with Washington, but without impositions.
And we have always stated that we have nothing against the people of the United States, and that we are willing to work on equal terms with the government of the United States, but in equality and confidences, without impositions, with respect, and of course nothing that affects our sovereignty or our independence. And that is our position.
In Panama, organizations in solidarity with Cuba held the first peace forum at the University of Panama to condemn the economic, financial, and commercial blockade imposed by the United States against the Cuban people. During the conference, organized by the National Education Workers Union, the social sectors made a call to respect the sovereignty and self-determination of the peoples, while qualifying the blockade against Cuba as the most comprehensive and prolonged system of unilateral coercive measures in history. They also denounced the unjust inclusion of Cuba on the list of countries sponsoring terrorism.
The peace we need to counteract violence against the peoples. For peace is not only the absence of war and conflict,
ya que la paz no es solo la ausencia de guerras y conflictos, sino también la
but also
soberanía,
sovereignty,
la
self-determination,
autodeterminación,
social justice,
la
and
justicia
respect among all
social
human
y
beings.
el respeto entre todos los seres humanos.
And now we have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Venezuela has positioned itself among the vanguard countries in the struggle against fascism and its diverse expressions. And just this week, a new meeting called International Anti-Fascist for a New World is taking place. Details in the following report.
The revolutionary process promoted in Venezuela has once again become a benchmark in the fight against the various expressions of world fascism and has called on many international political and social organizations to organize and join forces.
Fascism is nothing more than a derivation. It is like an element that imperialism uses and capitalism uses to maintain its domination, to maintain its exploitation of the working men and women. So the anti-fascist struggle is also an anti-capitalist struggle. It is a struggle for the construction of socialism.
Antifascista es una lucha también anticapitalista. Es una lucha por la construcción del socialismo, que es la única vía.
Which is the only way we know of to be able to extinguish, as Comrade Randa said, definitively both capitalism and its most violent expressions, or those with the greatest error in which it is expressed, which is fascism itself.
Con mayor horror que se expresa, que es el propio fascismo.
One of the most representative fighters against capitalism was the revolutionary fighter Ernesto Che Guevara. And his daughter, the revolutionary Dr. Aleida Guevara, is worthy of inheriting Che's anti-fascist legacy.
¿Qué significa el fascismo?
What fascism means, look at the examples. This is what we have lived. This is what you can live if you allow it. This is what you want, for example, to be left without housing, for example, to be left without culture, for example, to hand over everything you have to another state so that it can come and dominate you and crush you and try to disappear you as a people. That is what you want? Surely not. So what we have to do is to try to be like my father. It is easier to make you follow than not having to force. And that is very important. We have to demonstrate our truths, but in such a way that the young people understand them and join the struggle out of conviction. Not because we are forcing them, but because we have convinced them that a better world is possible.
Within the analysis and reflection of the world geopolitical context, it was agreed that one of the ways in which fascism disguises itself is through governments elected under democratic mechanisms, but which act with authoritarian expressions that favor the interests of those who hold economic and political power.
The government as such has made policies that go against the Salvadoran people, public policies that are not in accordance with what the population is asking for, as in the case of the high cost of living, as in the case of regulations to apparently raise taxes. There are even regulations that had to go back a little because of the popular voice. When there are demonstrations of social organizations, there are many checkpoints, and the population is detained, and they are doing all kinds of actions that do not facilitate conditions for people to demonstrate.
Another of the manifestations of fascism, as an expression of capitalism, is the disregard of the cultural manifestations of the native peoples who struggle for their identity and dignity.
We are fully supporting the worldwide struggle against fascism. We are the representation of the native peoples of Guatemala, and we are here supporting and making a worldwide network so that we are respected as native people.
This concludes the first day held in Caracas to confront international fascism.
The Brazilian government confirmed that it will make cuts in public spending to generate savings, most of which will come from a reform of the military pension system. The Minister of Finance, Fernando Haddad, said that the measure will allow savings of 70 billion reals, equivalent to nearly $12 billion over the next 2 years. In the same instruction, the ministerial office confirms the income tax exemption for those who earn up to 5,000 reals or slightly more than $800. According to Minister Haddad, these measures help to fight privileges incompatible with the principle of equality, and part of the objectives is to guarantee that all civil servants are subjected to the constitutional principle. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, there you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Find a short break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. Thousands of Lebanese have returned home since Beirut and Tel Aviv agreed to a 60-day ceasefire, while in Gaza, genocidal troops continue to bomb camps full of women and children. Today completes 56 days of armed siege and blockade to humanitarian aid in Beit Lahia in the north of Gaza. Along the Strip, the occupying forces have assassinated more than 20 civilians, among them a pregnant woman, in the last 24 hours. Israel's genocide in Gaza has killed at least 44,282 Palestinians and wounded 104,880 others since October 7, 2023. The Palestinian Popular Resistance Committees thank the struggle of the Islamic Resistance Movement of Lebanon, Hezbollah, in support of Palestinian civilians and fighters in the Gaza Strip. The communique assured that the gestures of the Islamic resistance in support of the Palestinian people will be recorded in history. They highlighted the sacrifice of thousands of martyrs in the last 13 months in the midst of the struggle against the Zionist enemy. They also pointed out that the ceasefire agreement with Lebanon would not have been possible without the steadfastness of its people. Polling stations in Namibia's capital, Windhoek, remain open late as thousands of voters queued to cast their ballots in pivotal presidential and legislative elections. Logistical issues, including problems with voter identification tablets and insufficient ballot papers, left many waiting for hours, some up to 12 hours. The ruling Southwest Africa's People's Organization faces a strong challenge to its 34-year grip on power, with Vice President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah poised to potentially become the country's first female leader.
Who never, ever fails to deliver.
Students with disabilities in Nicaragua win most medals in the 11th Central American School Sport Games. Let's see.
Paola, Isabel, and Letis are visually impaired. They study at the Rosendo Lopez Public High School in the city of Rivas, in southern Nicaragua. Their condition has not prevented them from practicing the sport of goalball.
The support they gave us was important. Both teachers and coaches were always there and never left us alone at any time. They were always giving us advice, and we as a team had the discipline to listen to them.
I think that the support was important in all the preparation of the girls, because we gave them the confidence that they could work a new and different game.
Gracias a nuestro buen gobierno por todo el apoyo que nos está dando a todos los deportistas.
Thanks to our good government for the support they are giving to all the athletes in all the competitions. This ball has 4 holes and a bell inside. It is a sport that is played with hearing.
Entonces este deporte se juega únicamente con audición.
They were part of the delegation of more than 80 athletes who recently participated in athletics and soccer in the Central American School Sports Games for Students with Disabilities, an event that took place in Panama.
We gave everything we had. We never gave up. I always tried to give encouragement to my teammates.
I focused on winning and trying to do my best and trying to do everything right.
The protagonists who have been recognized by the national authorities for their outstanding participation say that their achievements have been possible thanks to the inclusion strategies implemented by the government of Nicaragua.
I thank all the teachers. Thanks to them, I went to represent my country, and I could see how proud they were to see me as a champion.
I have been practicing this sport for a long time. This is the second time I compete, and I feel excited because I was able to bring several medals to Nicaragua, thanks to our good government that supports us to be able to go out.
To restore the rights of Nicaraguan families, to promote these spaces where young people can excel in sports, and promote these disciplines is another example of how our national sports system is giving better and better results.
The delegation won a total of 45 medals, including gold, silver, and bronze, achieving first place in the overall medal standings and becoming Central American champions of the 11 games for students with disabilities at the primary and secondary level, with the participation of athletes from Belize, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Panama, and Nicaragua.
Kenia Doña, TeleSUR, Nicaragua.
In Japan, a 4-story building known as Arimaston captures the attention of passersby in Tokyo for its unique handcrafted design. Its creator, Keisuke Oka, spent nearly 20 years building it, using a slower, more manual approach to architecture as an alternative to mass production. Nicknamed the Gaudi of Mita, Oka was inspired by Buto dance and sought to bring life to his creations, believing that many modern buildings lacked character. Oka affirms that the quality will allow it to last for more than 200 years. He also plans to live on the upper floors and use the lower floors as a studio and exhibition space. We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok as well. For TeleSUR English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.